can have it. I don't even know if you can handle it. All I know is you can have it. I don't even know if you can handle it. All I know is you can have it. I don't even know if you can handle it. All I know is you can have it. Cause I'm crazy, yeah. I know how you feel me. Cause I know you want me, you need me. Cause I'm crazy, yeah. I know how you feel me. Cause I know you want me, you need me. Cause I'm crazy, yeah.
Every day, around the world, millions of shipping containers are in motion. An incredible achievement of logistics, coordination, and communication. But legacy data systems and manual document handling cause friction that costs both time and money for businesses and people throughout the supply chain. Trade Lens is a digital shipping mode.
I know you're scared sometimes. Don't know if you're alright. You've been doing things you never thought you'd do. Taking it day by day. It seems like you lost your way. Even when you win, it still feels like you lose. When your heart is racing, racing at the speed of light, and you feel like you got nowhere else to go. No, I'll hold you till the sun comes in the morning light. Yeah, I'll keep you safe, I'll never let you go. When your heart is racing, racing at the speed of light, and you feel like you got nowhere else to go. No, I want you till the sun comes in the morning light. Yeah, I'll keep you safe, I'll never let you go. I'll never let you go.
setup. Oh, okay. I thought I was loud enough. That's been reminded of being recorded. So one thing for sure as techies, we have no protocol. So protocol observed. We don't have head of this, head of that. So I'll be very, very. I'm gonna kind of ignore that because we did that in the morning. We recognize who was there and everything. Every presenter, keynote speaker, anyone will be sharing their insight. Please feel free to introduce yourself, which institution you're coming from, and what kind of partnership you're looking for. It's all about partnerships and collaborations. There are some techies in the room, very technical guys. On Wednesday, we'll have a very technical session with African Blockchain Center. I don't know, is Irene around? Yeah, and John. So there'll be trying to create appetite for local developers to code in blockchain. Just in case I'm not wearing this jacket, I'm a software engineer. So I also do code and program sometime. And this is a very exciting news because I know for a fact we have very few blockchain developers in Tanzania. We have the Google Technology User Group. We have the Tanzania AI community. We have the Tanzania blockchain community, by the way. But don't quote me. Most of the discussion is on crypto, which actually limit the potential of the technology of itself. We know it can be used in agriculture, it can be used in health, it can be used in land ownership, it can be used on cryptos, it can be used on security, it can be used in shipping and logistic operations. So it can be used in multiple sectors. And that is what we are looking to hear. We're looking to hear practical use cases on how technology, especially blockchain technology, is being used in different sectors, because we want to build this strong case to the government that blockchain is beyond cryptocurrencies and they should embrace this technology because it has huge potential in cross-cutting sector. So welcome and feel free to discuss, feel free to reflect. We had a bigger group in the morning, approximately 85 people, and it was a lot of talks, discussions, strategy, thinking, ideas, and we're going to publish a report out of that. We have another laboratory for this afternoon session. We'll also be gathering your insights. So if there's some evidences out there on how blockchain is being used in Tanzania, maybe you've heard from a friend or a colleague, or you read in the newspaper or somewhere, please share, because it's very, very important it to be used to inform our next report, blockchain in Tanzania, what's happening, so that we want to know more what's happening from you guys. Yeah, so again, I'm very excited. I'm humbled and honored to welcome you. And let me return this microphone to your main host, who is Isa, to take this session from here. So Isa, back to you.
Testing. Okay. I want it to be fancy, so I got the lapel.
Today, can
Thank
you
you.
tell them that this is the first time you're putting a brazier on?
It's the second time. It's
Oh.
the second time. Last time was last year's Sahara Sparks.
Wow. So you only put this when it's Sahara Sparks.
Yeah, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Isa Muhammad Ali. I'm part of Sahara Ventures and I lead the Tanzania AI community, which is a bit of a spin-off from what we're going to be talking about, blockchain. But as we've heard in the morning, for those who are here, these are very interrelated technologies. A lot of them are going to be tied together very much. And some people say blockchain is going to be the bigger impactor. Others say AI. I've been in the AI camp for a long time. But the whole point of this session and today's discussion is going to be, how can we make sure that we actually implement this technology? So after listening to today's and previous sessions, we hear that the biggest impact of technology of blockchain is going to be how it ties together data in an immutable and trusted way. And a big issue with a lot of areas is always trust. How can we trust the data? How can we make sure protocols are observed and that kind of thing? So that's going to be a big part of today's discussion. And this is not going to be very formal. I'm not a very formal person. We've heard I don't really wear blazers and stuff. I'm still wearing sneakers right now. So feel free to be very open, discussive. We've put down some big charts on the tables with some sticky notes as well. So clearly this is going to be that type of discussion. And you can already see the direction we're heading just with those charts. At the end of the day, our goal is looking at how do we create a more conducive environment. We understand people are like, okay, blockchain, big thing, AI, big thing, augmented reality, etc., etc. But how do we move beyond the talks? As leaders in industry, as policymakers, as developers ourselves, what do we feel we need to actually make it happen? But I'm going way too far in front. So before that, just to make sure we're all on the same page, I'm going to attempt to give a short presentation on what blockchain is, but I'm not going to dive too deep because I am in a room of experts, very many. TBL is doing a lot of work. Edanian Labs, I almost always say Ada Labs. I'm too used to your old name. Edanian Labs, and there's Crosslink International. These are people who are applying the technology, who are teaching others how to use it, supporting startups that are implementing it. So at any point, feel free to ask anyone here to clarify the concepts, the technology, etc. Like I said, this isn't going to be a very formal discussion. So getting straight into it, who here feels they understand what blockchain is? Just quick raise of hands. It helps me quicken my presentation. If you all say you know what blockchain is, I can skip my presentation. I have one slide. I literally have one slide. So who wants to just volunteer, give me their understanding of blockchain? No one? Really? I know techies are introverts, but really? No one? Yes, please. We have the mics present.
Hi, I'm Alexa from the Fungoa program at UNDP. Definitely not a techie, but the way I imagine blockchain is like Excel, but everybody has a copy and their copies have to agree. So that's how when I imagine it, that's what I imagine.
That makes a lot of sense. And there's a very nice saying that the best person to explain something technical is someone who is not technical, because they can explain it in a way that other non-techies would understand. So that's always the best way to happen. So can you switch to my laptops, whatever? Advantage of Blazers, I have lots of fun pockets. So this is just meant to be like a very quick start guide. And literally the way I define it is in a very not useful way. I define it with the words in the name. It's a chain of blocks. And these blocks are basically records of particular data. I've been hearing the word ledgers. I haven't seen a ledger myself. I don't know what century of accounting ledgers are from, but basically a record of data. This type of data can be transaction-based data. And it's just a lot of these, just a lot of them, that we make sure we link together in such a way that at no point do we change the original. We create a duplicate with the updated information. This is at least how I've understood it. If I'm making a mistake, correct me now. Good? Good? Okay. So literally just a bunch of blocks of data that we then spread out to everyone. Everyone has a copy of this. Each transaction that happens, each change that happens doesn't change the original. There's a copy that's made. The copy has information of the past and the present. And everyone now has a copy of this copy. Therefore, if we want to change anything, or we want to, let's say, do some fancy stuff, make things look like what they are not, we would have to change everyone's. And if we think about this in the sense of a presentation, I give this presentation to 10 of my friends, and I want to change a single detail, I have to make sure I change it for all 10. 10 is really what happens when we scale to 100, 1,000, many millions. A device could, any device could store a copy of these ledgers, of these connections. And that in its essence is how we look at and how I hope I've understood correctly, blockchain is. So from here, we're going to move directly into use cases, into actual people who are applying the technology. And one of the first parts of any technological application is having people who understand it at the theoretical level and the technical level. And the best people in the room for that today are going to be the African Blockchain Center. So we will have a chance for questions and things like that during a panel discussion later. But for now, I'd like to invite Irene and Jeff from the African Blockchain Center for a use case and presentation on blockchain, how they're applying it, and a lot more work that they do. Thank you very much. Can we have the backdrop?
Thank you so much. And I am the theory, and he is a walking technical person. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Sahara Sparks 2021. Future reimagined now. Great. What a great honor to be here today. I just want to take this moment to, first of all, congratulate the Sahara Sparks team, Jumanne and his team, for being a doer and for being so consistent with everything that they do. It just baffles me every time I think about how young Jumanne is, and the 10-year career he's had in driving technology in Tanzania. So please, I don't see him here, but let's give him a big round of applause, please. So my name is Irene Kiwia. I am Tanzanian, and I'm here with
Jeff Mkungusi. Pleasure being here.
Great. So we are from the Africa Blockchain Center, and we're very excited to have this opportunity to share a case study of what the Africa Blockchain Center is. To start, I will deal with all the theory things, and Jeff will deal with all the technical things. So the Africa Blockchain Center is a very young company that was literally formulated in September.
Yes.
September 2021, right? Which is 2 months ago. And last week on Friday, we announced a seed funding for the Africa Blockchain Center by an Asian blockchain company called Next Chimia Limited, a 2-month-old startup funded already. And this is what technology does when you have the right concepts and the right ideas. So the ABC is a baby of Adanian Labs. So I'll start by telling you what Adanian Labs is. We used to be called Ada Labs until October, when we rebranded to Adanian Labs. And Adanian Labs is a venture building company, a venture building studio that was launched last year in January 2020. We are the perfect COVID baby. And it was co-founded by myself, Mr. John Kamara, and Bendon Murgo, who's not in the room. And I am from Tanzania, John is from West Africa, and Bendon is from Kenya. And we came together because we saw a huge gap in how technology was built in Africa. Not just technology, but in how tech companies were built in Africa. I had a fantastic idea of a lot of things that I wanted to do, but I didn't know where to start, who to talk to, how technology works, how you build a tech company. And John, who was coming from West Africa, also had a big vision and a lot of opportunities with partners from where he used to work in Europe who wanted to invest in Africa, but didn't know where to find good companies. And Bendon, a proper techie guy out in Nairobi, has built so many different solutions that were in his computer. So we decided to come together and create a different model on how tech startups are built. because we thought, there was a huge gap in how to build sustainable, scalable technology companies. So we put all our efforts and all our resources in one basket, and we piloted this venture building model that we thought was necessary because we wanted to address the issue of technology. So building strong, scalable technology that makes sense. Two, creating a team that is dynamic and that is knowledgeable, that has the technical know-how, and scale, a platform where we can scale it across Africa, and putting resources, bootstrapping, and building a model that will align with where and how tech companies in the world are run. So we launched Adanian Labs last year in January, and to date, we have built 15 companies across over 7 sectors, and we are headquartered in Kenya, but we're present in Nigeria, Zambia, South Africa, the United Kingdom, and we're now launching here in Tanzania. So it's been quite an amazing journey. And how we work as a venture studio is we take amazing ideas that make sense, that are scalable across the continent. Remember in the morning, for those of you who were here, the opportunity for Africa to strive in technology is in our population, in how we can tap into the 1.3 billion people, and soon will be, one of the largest continents in the world. So thinking of Africa from a borderless perspective as far as technology is concerned. And so we build the technology, we train and mentor entrepreneurs, and we build teams, and we launch the product in our ecosystem, and provide all the resources necessary to de-risk the failure of that startup. So we invest up to a tune of $120,000, and we take equity in that company, and we incubate it for 12 months, where we treat it as our own product. Imagine a startup in a corporate type of support, so de-risking that entire startup model. And when a company exits within 12 months of being in the lab, great case scenario, we would have raised seed funding. And for some companies like ABC, 2 months later, they have seed funding. So that is what differentiates us from a lot of the current hubs and labs and different structures that are there to support startups. So out of the work that we do, one of our main pillars is to build capacity, because we say we want to build 300 tech-powered, impact-driven, commercially viable companies in Africa in the next 5 years, and so help us God, right? So, and it's possible. We have managed to do 15, and the more we build, the easier it will get, and the more we scale, the quicker we're able to launch and build these companies. So capacity building is a very key pillar, because for those of you who are in the morning, we keep talking about this gap, technical capacity. Do we even have enough programmers? There's a huge gap in developers, not just in Africa, but globally. So one of our main pillars is building capacity. And we build capacity, so technical capacities, so programmers, developers, and all of that, but also building capacity across corporate industries, so training business leaders and creating the demand for technology and the technology that we're building, and also building capacity with government entities so that they understand and they're able to align in the ecosystem that we're building. So that is what Adanian Lab is, and the Africa Blockchain Center is one of the 2 centers of excellences that have been launched by Africa Blockchain Center. Last year, we launched the AI Center of Excellence, which Natasha, one of the co-founders, please stand up, Natasha. The face of technology and AI is female and young. So we launched the AI Center of Excellence, and in the last few months, from last year, December, that the center has existed, we've already trained 35 data scientists, engineers. We are soon launching the next cohort, and the AI Center of Excellence aims to train 10,000 data scientists in Africa in the next 5 years. And out of that model was also how the Africa Blockchain Center was born. So our mission at Africa Blockchain Center, or ABC, is to build blockchain capacity. We need to walk the talk. So training blockchain programmers, and there's a number. Is it 6,000 or 10,000?
It's 6,000.
6,000. So we want to train 6,000 blockchain programmers in the next 5 years. And we are starting now. And this training will take place in 5 countries: Kenya, Tanzania, Nigeria, Zambia, and South Africa. And we will scale it from there. We also run blockchain for business programs where we train business leaders in key industries on how to understand blockchain and how it's applicable to their businesses, and how to also get blockchain ready. Yeah. And we also are open to talking to governments and decision makers and policy makers on how they can create the right policies and regulation around blockchain. And our current new partnership at Adenian Lab, at the bigger picture, we partnered with Emulgro Africa. And Emulgro Africa is the commercial arm for Cardano. I don't know how many of you knows Cardano? Yeah, so Cardano is one of the largest blockchain companies in the world, and their currency, ADA coin, is one of the top 5 global cryptocurrencies in the world. So that partnership was very significant because we are one of the first companies that they've invested in Africa that they are working and partnering with to ensure that we demystify blockchain and build a big ecosystem of blockchain community, but also creating blockchain solutions and supporting and incubating blockchain startups. So that is at an Adenian level perspective. But the Africa Blockchain Center has recently, like I said, partnered with Next Chimia Consulting Group, which is also a leading blockchain company out of Asia. And the mission is to build blockchain capacity. We're here to build blockchain capacity in Africa and create a huge workforce for the continent that can not just sustain the technology demands in the continent, but also can create employment for themselves across the world. In the morning, some of the speakers talked about how in India, when technology was just coming out, we built websites from India. Africa can actually become a massive outsourced community for global technology. And that is what we want to do. So I will pass it over to Jeff, also a co-founder and director at Africa Blockchain Center, so he can talk about the technical side of the work that we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Irene. Hi, everyone. Hi. So I have 2 questions. So the first one is, does anyone know who Satoshi Nakamoto is? Anyone? Just Mike? Genesis block. Okay. Blockchain. Okay. So the second question I have is, has anyone read his white paper? Now the paper about the first Genesis block. Anyone? Okay. So I like giving stories. I believe life is a story as it is. And I believe my founder has given the story of the lab and how it started and where we're at. And I'd like to share a story in regards to blockchain and why it's the future for Africa. Satoshi Nakamoto is a pseudonym. No one knows who he is. It might be a group of people, maybe hackers, depends. But the concept of the white paper was to provide wealth creation. So the white paper for blockchain technology as it is was to show a way of providing transparency, immutability. Immutability means that it cannot be changed among specific people, whether it's this group or the world as it is. The third point was, how do you provide data that can be distributed across multiple places in the world and still retain its same state? It was a beautiful paper because it actually changed the way we see value in money. Everyone, we flew in and we were supposed to change the currency we have to Tanzanian shillings. But then again, if I ask you, right now you have that piece of currency. If somebody stole it, you'll feel hurt, isn't it? Now the question is why? Because it has value. The computation paper, or the white paper, which had the computation on the foundations of the blockchain protocols, or every type of blockchain protocol built, was on how do you manipulate that value. So this basically means that you are quite incited to the point that you can manipulate value across different currencies, cryptocurrencies, and that gives you access to a whole different world. A world which we see transparency across governmental organizations and specific groups of people, a world which we can actually see each other and create trust, and a world which shows authenticity in regards to how we store our data. It's a beautiful world if you think about it. It's a world which, it might create a new revolution, and it means that the data which you have, you own your data. You literally own your data, which is quite unique because right now, if you leave, the amount of transactions you've done in Tanzania for the guys who visited Tanzania remain in Tanzania. Any KYC data which you have accessed, provided using your credit card or ATM card or facial recognition, remains in Tanzania. You don't move with your data. Now you see, if you don't move with your data, it means people who might have some interesting bad thoughts in regards to how they might use your data maliciously might have that opportunity. Blockchain creates a world where we can feel free, share our thoughts, and still make transactions, whether anonymously or pseudonymously, but you can still retain the value of the currency within that ecosystem. Now, Satoshi's white paper is quite well placed. The reason is because he had a view, or the group had a view on how we can focus on wealth creation for the world. That's true. I'm not going to the technological bit. I want guys to actually understand what blockchain technology is from that perspective. Because if you do, then when you move to programming and software development, deployments, and all that, you'll have a different thinking. Now, we know that the web has three main phases. There's Web 1.0, or the first, wave of the web, and that is more on the read. We just used to read data from a network, online web pages. We still access it. There's still, some people utilize Web 1.0. But then again, when we move to Web 2.0, which is what people are using right now, is in regards to how you can read and write from whether a front-end application to how you can write on databases, whether it's structured data or unstructured data. And most developers, because I believe that developers in the house, software engineers, software architects, of the developers, hey, developers in the house. So most developers work with Web 2.0. And the reason is because that you work on an application, any type of application, whether it's making transactions, whether it's identity management, whether any type of thought process, you'll work on it, but then again, you'll store it in a database. And it's done. So the architecture is mostly the application APIs, how you interface with the database. So the API mostly has the logic, any logic, your thought process, how you map it out, and then it normally writes on a database based on the data structure you have provided for the DB. Now, when we come to Web 3.0, that's where the fun part starts, because this is mostly focused on read, write, execute. Now, the execution bit now is where you need to understand how consensus works. Consensus is I'd say it's an expensive name. Basically, it only means that you have a selected group of people that can actually validate what you're trying to save in the database. That's all. It's not anything else. Now, the consensus mechanism basically means that you have the logic on how to set up how various group of people view how you pass data to the database. So for example, I can say, I'm working on a decentralized application. Cool. Ethereum or Avalanche, Avax, Solana, EOS, depends. Doesn't matter. It's just a protocol. The concept still remains. So I'd say, okay, so my consensus, the last line, the middle line, so these people will validate my microtransactions on the network. And I'd say for this side, they'll validate how I store data in the database. But then again, how do I know that they won't tamper with the transactions? Because they can. I actually gave them access to validate every transaction I make if I'm using the transaction methodology. And on this side, they validate all the transactions, but then again, how sure am I that I can trust them? I don't know. I don't know them. I'm just an engineer. But then again, the same people also undergo something we call an election cycle. So it means that the guys interacting with the application, each of them have a vote. They can vote. So that's how I acquire trust in my application. And if I acquire trust and I use all the other attributes of blockchain, then I have an application that can be used by the whole world without being tampered with, providing transparency to everyone using the application, whether it's the stakeholders, whether it's the clients of the application, or whether it's even the founders of whatever company. They can actually see everything that goes by. It means I have an application that if it fails right now, I have the same copy of the data stored in a million places and it won't be tampered with, because remember, blockchain technology again is built on cryptography. So it means there's a lot of security. If you tamper with one block in the chain, which was explained by a good friend over there, if you tamper with one block, the whole chain is purged. Purging means that the whole chain is deleted from the network. But again, I have multiple nodes which have the same state of the chain, and there's a self-healing mechanism.
Jeff, I don't want him to take you through an entire technical world. That is very nicely explained, and I'm still learning. So I just want you to focus now on, okay, that is the picture of what blockchain is. How are we applying it in everyday work at ABC, but also what is the potential and what are the different applications for everyday solutions that it can be applied?
I was actually moving there.
Okay.
But just to finalize on that, you can actually restore the state of the database in whatever part of the world, which means that your application will always be bulletproof. Now, for the Africa Blockchain Center, we're mostly focused on teaching the deep concepts around blockchain technology. So to give you some of the use cases which we have worked on, we have a couple of startups under the Adenian umbrella. For example, Payland. Payland is one of the startups or companies which we have under the Adenian umbrella. And the African blockchain has worked on how to secure the transactions which are being carried out within the application. So it means that we're just using blockchain, a component of blockchain technology. It can be parachain or sidechain that can save and secure the transactions which are being carried out in the application. We have another use case, Afya Record. Afya Record is a smart platform in regards to how you save and monitor various health records. And we've also used blockchain technology powered by research and development, as mentioned by the founder, to see how best we can store records of health and also use identity management, which you can actually peg on the records which you can access in any part of the world. Your record, your data, you use your data, you own your data. A couple of research projects which you're working on. So an example is a platform which we're building to see how we can demystify blockchain technology to various companies or startup companies or companies which have already existing development teams, but they don't have to procure blockchain developers. But then again, they can tap into the dynamic smart platforms which you're building to see how they can access blockchain technology by just modifying the business logic within our platform. Another use case is just security. So we are working on a chain which can secure data in regards to asymmetric cryptography and see how best that if you run the data within that layer, it's encrypted in 6 different dimensions. So this means that for you to decipher, you'd have to use like, let's say 4 different tools, which each combination. Do a reverse audit trail and go back and see specifically where it was grown and the conditions which the rice was grown. So you won't eat just any other rice you buy from the supermarket, but you can eat a rice which is validated from the chain. So imagine a world which you could be able to see everything that you do, you can validate. whether it's drinking water, you can exactly know where it's from. You want to comment? I mean, it's an interesting world if you think, it's a whole ecosystem. And the Africa Blockchain Center, we mainly focus on local talent, but because I believe Africa is the next wave. We're in it now. There is no tomorrow. There is no 5 years later. This is the small window we have as Africa to make the change that the world can see. And we believe in that. We mainly focus on research and development every single day because we believe that blockchain technology, of course, creating smart solutions with artificial intelligence and the Internet of Things, we can be able to create solutions that will actually help so many people globally.
If I can add to what Jeff is saying, when you talk about the fourth industrial revolution, which is a technology revolution, it is underpinned by data. We keep hearing these sentences like data is the new oil, data is this, data is that. And when you look at our continent and our history on where we come from, how we were an industrialized economy and then we were not, and there's been all these different things that has happened to bring our continent to where we are. With this fourth industrial revolution, we have a very unique opportunity to change the trajectory of this continent. And this opportunity lies with this generation, whether you're 18, 20, 40, 60, the fact that you're alive today, it means we're tasked with that responsibility on how we change the trajectory of Africa specifically. And this is because if we do not own our own data, think about what that means 50 years from now, 100 years from now. It will be something that we will not be able to undo for, I don't know, until what revolution comes about. So this is what truly drives our work at Adanian Labs and our work with the Africa Blockchain Center, the Africa Center of Excellence, and all the different startups. And that's why we're on a mission to build 300, and maybe we will get to 300. Maybe we will get to 1,000. But the point is, how do we intentionally, and put all our resources and build the building blocks and building an ecosystem where we will build these companies. We will make sure that they're sustainable, they're scalable, and it forms a base of how Africa owns its own data, whether it's healthcare, agriculture, SME and informal economy, whatever it is. How do we make sure that we build solutions that will allow for us to collect and keep our own data and use it for our own good, and when need be, partner with anyone else who comes around and create value for it, because the value of this continent now and in the future, and that's why these conversations on smart technologies are taking place, is in data. How do we collect data? How do we make it accessible, right? So that we can collect all different types of data. It's in the solutions that we build. How do we make this data valuable? It's in what technology we use. And, again, technology is just an enabler. At the end of it, and that's why I said at the beginning, our focus is to incubate and build impact-driven solutions. Is how is this technology creating that impact where it's in agri? One of our Tanzanian startups, Fema Agri, Daniela, stand up, please. Yeah, so founder and CEO of Fema Agri. It's an agri-tech company that was launched last year with a mission to provide value to farmers, So when you think about farmers in Tanzania, smallholder farmers, big issues, first, access to resource, whether it's funding, capacity, the right inputs, it's an entire challenge. And then how do they take all of that to market? From increasing their yield, making sure it's of quality, to accessing markets. So they came up with a very disruptive model and build a crowdfunding platform where Jeff, I, and any of you can farm virtually, meaning that money goes to support farmers in whatever value chain, and they're given the right inputs, the right capacity. So a farmer's worry is just to follow the science and create the yield, because at the end of the day, the same company will offtake. And that model had to stop because in Tanzania, the crowdfunding policies were not straightforward. It was considered illegal. And Daniela spent the last year negotiating with the government of Tanzania through CMSA. And last week, they were granted, for the first time ever, a crowdfunding license, meaning, beyond FEMA Agri, think about the things other innovations can do around crowdfunding model, solving one of the biggest issues, which is access to fund, whether it's farmers, whether it's in healthcare, so please, a big round of applause. This also shows how Tanzania as a government is thinking and moving towards the right direction.
Yes.
I think this pretty much sums up what we do at the Africa Development Center. Unless there's a question or comment, I think I would just like to end this by a call to action to say that, we're setting up in Tanzania. So Adenian Labs is officially setting up in Tanzania. We want by January to incubate starting with 5 startups, but the mission is out of the 300 startups that we're building, can 30% of, even higher come from Tanzania. So we're launching a call for startups application in the next weeks. And we are hoping to get as much response, from different startups as possible, but we're also looking to train. We're launching our blockchain programming training, AI training, technology training. So please, let's share this information because we want to transform the job market as much as possible. But our model will not work if we don't have the right partners. So we are welcoming you, whether you're from the government, from the development partners, sector, private sector, come one, come all. Let's join forces and be intentional about transforming technology and tapping into the 4th industrial revolution if we want to have tangible outcomes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jeff and Irene. Technologists really like to deep dive their topics, and Jeff basically gave us a sneak peek into his masterclass, which is happening on Wednesday. So Adenian Labs will be having a masterclass happening on Wednesday. We'll circulate that registration as well. It's still open. So you can deep dive into that with the techies. That is going to be a pure techie session. But their presentation is a nice segue into the agricultural aspect. So I'd like to invite TBL to tell us more about the work they're doing in that sector. Presentation first. Yeah, here's the clicker. Okay. Let me just.
I'll sit here.
Hello, everyone. Hi, my name is Mesia Mongoka from Tanzania Breweries. I think after the techies, I don't know how I'm going to cover that gap in terms of that technical know-how. So I hope you can forgive me when I'm very basic in my presentation. So I have my team actually, which from TBL as well, which I wanted to say hi, Abigail and Andrew Whiting in the crowd. But we're really excited, I think, as a private sector company to be participating in this particular forum. I have a very short presentation and an animated video of sorts, which we'll talk around. But basically, I wanted to just showcase what we do around the value chains on blockchain. All right. So I hope the room know who we are. So as TBL, we're the oldest and the oldest brand in Tanzania, the oldest company. We're born in 1933, way before even we're independent during the colonial times. So as old as we are 88 years old, but our goal is literally to lead in digital innovation. So grandpa, that is really innovative. So we're really excited about that journey in terms of how can an 88-year-old grandpa be so digitalized. So we definitely are one of the most valuable company in the country. So according to the recent data which was published, and we're really excited in terms of some of the issues that we work in the government across. And we have over 1 million jobs that we affect in the value chains for TBL. We contribute significantly to the economy. About 0.5% of the GDP comes from TBL alone. So really exciting journey for us. Okay. Oh, sorry. I'm still learning how to use the clicker, so you can forgive me for that. So one of the things that I'll deep dive into, because I know that this is a very technical meeting focused around the value chains. One of the things that we normally focus on doing, we have these things that we call the Sustainable Development Goals for ABI. ABI is our mother company, so I'll be using those interchangeably between TBL and ABI. So we have these four sustainability goals, which we aim by 2025 to have reached 100% across. So we want 100% of our farmers to be directly contracted by us by 2025. We want to achieve 100% on water stewardship, meaning we want to really focus around improving our water usage. Another aspect, we're looking at climate action, where we're saying 100% of we're using a lot of renewable energy sources. The last one, which is circular packaging, because being a beer company, we really want to make sure that all the packaging we're using is recyclable or it's literally environmentally friendly. So that's one of the aspects that we look at. But my focus today will be on smart agriculture. That's where the blockchain technology comes in. So basically, the goal is to have our farmers skilled, connected, and financially empowered. So the last aspect there is very critical for my next presentation. So you know what we produce across the markets. So Kilimanjaro is one of the most favorite brands. I'm not going to talk about that. So basically across the value chains, we have about 4,500 farmers that we directly contract in Dodoma and Karatu across those regions in Manyara. So, and then we're piloting grape project. I won't talk about that much, but our biggest projects are the sorghum one, and barley, we're amplifying that in the next 2 years. So basically for farmers, we have direct contracts, meaning we've signed contracts with payment in terms of the next 3 years. They know how much we're paying them. They know how much we want them to produce for us for that particular year. And we also do skills development for them. Okay, so basically, sorry, I'll go backwards a little bit. So within these farming communities, one of the things that we tried to see was within the financial empowerment aspect, how do we really make payments for the farmers? Because at the moment, most of the payments that we make is very manual. So the farmer goes to the aggregator who buys products on behalf of the company. And we have to manually pay the farmer either by cash or by going to the bank, which is a very long process. And everything is written manually, large volumes of books. So year in, year out, and there's no digital trace. So the farmer, even if he goes to the bank to say, yeah, every year I sell 10,000 kgs of sorghum, he has no evidence of that, because most farmers don't have bank accounts. So that's one of the things that we started to say, okay, how do we really resolve this problem for farmers? And that's how the blockchain technology came into play. So basically how it works is that we partnered with BanQ. BanQ is a software service company that provides the blockchain technology for us. So it's exciting to hear that actually Africa Blockchain Center actually can do those kinds of things. Maybe that's one of the things we can look at in the future to say, how do we even localize this? So BanQ is our partner globally. They work with us in Africa, Latin America, but we're piloting this in Tanzania. And we're the first company actually to pilot a blockchain technology system in Tanzania, and we're really excited. So we actually piloted it in August of this year. We're still learning first early phases of the induction process. What we have in Tanzania, the beauty is that we have M-Pesa already, or mobile money. So we already integrated blockchain to be linked to mobile money. So what it means is that it removes the need for the farmer to actually have a bank account at the end of the day, but it also provides that digital transaction for the farmer. So I'll skip the slide and I'll go to how actually the BanQ process works. So how it works is that the farmer comes to our aggregator. So these are centers where we use these cooperatives or companies that buy on behalf of the company to these farmers that we have contracted. So they take the crop, so sorghum or barley, to the farmer, and then it's weighed. And the quality is, they look at the quality test as well. But within that, they enter the details. So the aggregator himself has like an iPad of sorts. So he enters the details, the name of the farmer, who are you, where are you from, your age, your ID number. So the basic necessity is the ID, basically. So we use normally NIDA. That's the most basic standard. So once that is entered into the system, the farmer receives a code. So the first code is like a 6-digit code, which tells him that you have submitted 10,000 kgs of sorghum for this price. Your total is this much, and this is your payment transaction. So the farmer is happy with that verification of the details. They accept, and then the transaction goes through, meaning that the cash now goes into his M-Pesa account if he's happy. If he doesn't have an M-Pesa account, he's given another set of codes where they can actually, a blockchain of codes, basically, where they can take to a bank or any cash point and secure that for cash. So pretty much what the blockchain is the cash transaction. It becomes his cash in that manner. So as you can see, the whole process is very seamless in the sense that it doesn't actually require the farmer to have a bank account. All he needs the farmer, or a smartphone for that matter. The farmer can use the tochi, they can actually use those to do this whole transaction. So we find that it's a very efficient way of working, especially in these smallholder organizations where people don't have even access to data in the first place. So some of the key advantages that we've seen is that it creates actually an economic passport for the farmer. So basically, year over year, the digital transactions are very visible, and the farmer can actually access that digital passport over a period of time, and they can use that now to access things like loans, inputs from different sources. They can even get things like crop insurance, for example, using the data that they have. And one of the other things that we like is that it also is geotagged, meaning it provides data in real time, where, how, and exactly what happened to that farmer. So there's no room actually for fraud or theft. And the fact that they can actually access the amount from mobile money. So we've actually partnered with Vodacom for this particular project. And Vodacom, actually, most of our farmers, we've registered them through the M-Pesa, especially the piloted ones. And then over time, we can see how we can scale them up. So this has been our very interesting sort of journey as we piloted this phase. So basically, one of the things that we've noticed as we learn, like I said, we started in August, and I didn't want to bring any data with us because it's still very early days for us to really assess. But one of the key challenges that we've looked at is the issue around the data quality, in terms of, as we're uploading this data, most of these aggregators that we work with, they're used to really doing things manually. So they don't understand that actually doing things digitally is very useful. So they still go back to trying to do things as manual as possible. So that's one of the aspects that we looked at around. And there's a need actually for training or capacity building for those aggregators. Another thing that we looked at was around the farmer or adaptation. There was a lot of underestimation in terms of, oh, will the farmers accept the system? But the moment the pilot were started, farmers were really keen actually to jump onto the technology. So this whole myth around, oh, farmers do not embrace technology is really removed entirely, because these farmers are really keen to try new technologies across. And then definitely and most of the issues that we had is like, there was an assumption that we have to create new IDs for farmers, but we realized that actually basically most farmers have already NIDA cards, so we piggybacked on that. And there's a need obviously for training and communication. But the key one, which was really a biggest challenge that we had, was the partner rollout. So as I mentioned, we partnered with mobile money telecoms network, and one of the key challenges we had was the understanding for the company around how blockchain works and how actually these transactions, the moment they receive these transactions, how valid it is, the exchange of the technical details was really a bit of a challenge, and it still continues to be a bit of a challenge in that space. But like I said, it's a pilot. We're still learning from both parties, but also trying to build their capacity as well for them to understand how they can leverage on this technology. So yeah, so pretty much these are some of the farmers that we work with. Most of our farmers are actually Maasai, so it's very interesting to see Maasai farmers in Karatu. So my presentation ends here. I had a small animation that I prepared. I wonder if you can help me to. Oh, okay. Thank you so much. So yeah, so that was like a summary of basically what I just said. Thank you, everyone. So, perfect. Yeah. So what I like about the blockchain technology that we adopted is that it simplified the process. When we checked with the teams, manually it used to take about 2 hours for a farmer between buying, weighing, and doing everything else. With the blockchain technology, it takes at most 20 minutes, 30 minutes max. Between the transaction weighing and logging of details. And it really changed, it has changed so far the farmers' lives. We haven't recorded that, as I mentioned, but hopefully next year we can do a more bigger space with the learnings that we have, because we're trying to collect as much data and comparison analysis as much as possible. So next year when we present, I think it will be more very technical understanding of how actually it has worked. So yeah, so to my learning for the panels, for the members of the audience, is that blockchain is as easy as that. It's not very complicated. It is complicated perhaps to build and design, but once you start using it, it's as simple as that. Farmers in Karatu, and you saw these farmers are like Maasai, hardly go to school, most of them, and they can use blockchain. So this is really an impressive journey for us, and we're really excited to see how it would turn out in the next few years. And we hope we can partner with some of these startups that we can see here in the future. We have many other spaces that we would like to innovate on, and we can discuss offline around blockchain, and it'd be really nice to unpack that further. Thank you very much. Any questions? Do I wait for questions?
Yeah. Not yet. Thank you so much. We'll be calling all of you back right after this next discussion for all of you to now get grilled by the audience, but more just to share more experiences and things like that. And this is also going to be open to those watching online. We do have an audience on Zoom and YouTube. So feel free to type down your questions and we'll make sure to pass it on. And now I'd like to invite Ramadhani Salhidia from Crosslink International, and they're talking about blockchain in the transportation sector, shipping containers to be specific. Thank you.
Thank you, Esa. Good afternoon, everyone. Well, my name is Ramadan Salhija from Crosslink, and I will start with a video.
Every day around the world, millions of shipping containers are in motion, an incredible achievement of logistics, coordination, and communication. But legacy data systems and manual document handling cause friction that costs both time and money for businesses and people throughout the supply chain. TradeLens is a digital shipping platform powered by blockchain that enables unprecedented transparency, collaboration, and efficiency in global supply chains. TradeLens provides control and management of shipping data and supplies innovative apps to every stakeholder in the supply chain: shippers, freight forwarders, intermodal operators, ocean carriers, ports, terminals, authorities, financial service providers, and more. To illustrate some of the ways TradeLens enables collaboration and reduces friction, let's follow a shipment of laptop computers from inland China to their final destination along the west coast of the United States. Using the document sharing capabilities of TradeLens, the shipper can submit shipping instructions to the carrier, who accesses the information to draft a bill of lading for the shipper's review. Once a final bill of lading is verified by the shipper and carrier, TradeLens makes it accessible to the customs broker, the authorities in the port of entry, and the cargo owner at the destination. All along the supply chain, access to shipping data and information is managed by TradeLens' sophisticated permissioning model that controls who can add, view, and update information at each stage of a shipment, and provides a blockchain encrypted audit trail of all critical actions. The benefits of TradeLens really deliver when the planned turns into the unplanned. Due to a sudden shift in inventory demand, the shipper requests the cargo be diverted to its distribution center in eastern US near Savannah, Georgia. Following the request, the shipment is rebooked on another vessel, requiring a change to the manifest and a reissued bill of lading. Using TradeLens, the carrier can create and publish the amended bill of lading to the platform for all permission parties to see. At the customs broker, the new information is updated into the shipment's import declaration for timely submission to US Customs. With TradeLens, any permission party can find the shipment through a range of search parameters, such as equipment number, bill of lading number, booking number, and more. Viewing the transport plan, they can see the key milestones on the shipment's timeline. TradeLens supports more than 120 planned, estimated, and actual events, all tracked instantaneously, giving detailed insights up and down the supply chain. In the case of this shipment, supply chain partners downstream are notified of the vessel change and are able to coordinate and manage the impact of the destination and timeline changes. Global trade is an incredibly complex system, but with TradeLens and blockchain technology, we now have a trusted solution to support industry-wide innovation. TradeLens, trade made easy.
Thank you. Well, about Crosslink. Crosslink is East African company, as shown in the screen, and our main mission is to provide digital solutions by using these future technologies to solve different challenges. And so why TradeLens? In 2018, after World Trade Organization conducted a survey, they see there's a lot of challenges in a trade, which hinder trade globally. So after this report, it was IBM and Maersk who sat and they come up with a solution which they called it TradeLens. In short, it's a platform where all the shipping and logistics collaborators and the stakeholders share information under one platform. This is mainly to simplify the sharing of data and informations. In general, there is a lot of transactions going on in the trade globally. But as you can see, 80% of all the cargo or goods that are transported in the world are being shipped by ocean. And most of the business cargoes or consumer cargo are being carried by containers. So TradeLens is only mainly dealing with containerized cargoes and not other types of cargoes that are being carried by ships. So there's a lot of challenges that are facing Tanzania currently. Just to some of them, the first one will be high ship waiting times, because we all see once you pass around Oyster Bay or Aga Khan, you see a lot of ships outside there. Those are all the ships that are waiting just to berth at the port for offloading and loading of cargoes. But sometimes this is mainly being caused by the low turnout and slowness of operations at the port. And low shipping turnaround time, this is mainly because when the ship is at the port, it takes much longer to load and then offload the cargoes due to the system, sometimes due to the well pre-planned, as normally the data came late. And the other one is increased cargo dwell time. It takes much time as well once the cargo is offloaded at the port, just to be cleared out of the port and reach the final consumers. This is also being caused by the frictions for availability of data. Sometimes there's a lot of frictions by the customs during the verifications and other operational processes. Inefficiency-based operations, this is mainly at the port, use some of equipment here. Sometimes it depends with the arrangement of the cargo, which one should go first and which one should go later. As we also said, that the long cargo inspections, because there is no trust on the information that are being shared by the shippers or importers of those cargoes or consignee. So it sometimes creates a lot of unnecessary times for them to be cleared by the TRIA. Inefficient gate operations, and this is once all the other procedures have been cleared, so the final verifications as well is still being to rely in manual processing, which also makes the operations to slow down. And last but one is in terms of submissions. Most of the documents are also being submitted at the port or at the respective office that needed the document to be there, but normally they're not submitted timely because they need sometimes someone physically just to go there and lodge them from one office to another. And the last is an inaccurate submission, where that because we are taking data from one system to another systems, and human error can just interfere there. One mistake, or maybe an error, or a nukta, or a full stop, or a comma it can mislead or change the whole informations, and people will need just to do the verification of those data. In globally, we have many challenges, like most of the data are in silos, and there's also a lot of manual timing because we're still doing paper work and not paperless. And clearance takes a long time as related to fraud. We all know this. For someone who has been done imported any cargoes at the port, this is something that is very normal. And sometimes high cost in pure customer services. It is estimated that about 20 to 30% of the cost of importing cargo is only relied on documentations. There's a lot of paper, a lot of movement that result in increasing cost for. So trade deals is only coming to connect the ecosystem, because right now, every stakeholders or partners in the ecosystem of supply chain or logistics is having his own system that is using. So sometimes it's not quite easy to connect the dot from one partners or ecosystem practitioners to another. For instance, TRI is having their own systems. Maybe shipping company is using their own different systems. Port is using different system from all those two. And maybe we have transporters and someone else who is also living. So connecting all this system from one to another is creating a lot of challenges. So with TradeLens, it fosters collaboration and trust, because all these people will be sharing this data and information under one platform. And the last thing, this thing is spy innovation, because the platforms will allow anyone to come up with a solution, to build a solution on top of it, since it allows an API to work from the platform. So in Tanzania, we can have a paperless pre-arrival processes. This is because of our paperless cargo processing mechanism, whereby what is happening at the moment is, once the ship is arrived, a shipping line agent is supposed to submit the manifest to customs agent. So what we normally do, because I worked in a shipping company back in 2012 to 2014, so we normally print out the whole manifest, and we find that one ship comes with 800 containers. So the manifest is around 600 pages. So you print all 600 pages, you pack it like 3 or 4 copies, one copy to TRA, TPA, and whoever is supposed to receive those copies. So you can see in a week, we are having like 4 to 5 ships. That is one company. There are other 4 or 5 other companies. So in a week, you may find that there are about 20 ships containers that are coming into the port. So if one of them has a 600 pages manifest, you multiply by 20 or 10, for examples. So if someone is trying to locate the container or the data from those documents, you can see how hard it is to trace that information. But with TradeLens, all the ecosystem is connected. And this connection is not just only in Tanzania, but from where the document or the information is originated. I mean, from the port of loading to the last port of all. So another key feature is access to near real-time trusted information, because once the information is fed in the platform, every part that is involved will get notification, and you can access that information at the same time. And the last one is traceability mechanism. My colleague was just here at the first moment we were speaking about traceability. You can trace it simply. And from what I've read on the internet, a simplest definition that I know of blockchain, it says that is a system that collects data and it distributes. So any attempt of changing the data, it doesn't delete the original data. The original data always stay there. So it's only create a duplicate. So in a simpler, This is how the ecosystems look like. We have a beneficial cargo owner, we have third-party logistics, we have a carriage with customer authorities, we have port and terminals, we have carriers. This is where from the cargo originated to where the cargo is ending. And on the middle, these are just some of the moves that are being recorded during the whole shipment from where it is originated to where it's going to the end. So when the system trend is being adapted in Tanzania, this is the value that we can have. An advanced container security, it can help government to increase revenue, because at the moment, this is not in only in Tanzania, but all over the world. There's a lot of fraud, a lot of people that are doing under declarations. So we know, for those who are doing businesses, we know this. So once you are dealing with trade lanes, that is not possible, because all the information are readily available from the platform, from where the document originated. Because right at the moment, TRI rely only for document from the shipper or from the consignee. So the consignee can only temper the document and submit it to TRI. But once using the trade lanes, there's no possibility of doing that. Also, it can increase the customer experience, efficiency in arrival processes, because all the manifest and document of the shipping will be readily available once the port leaves the final port of loading. So once the data updated as the final port of loading, the last port of call can receive the final manifest way before the ships dock at the port. So also it can improve Tanzania logistics performance indicator. At the moment, out of 190 countries, Tanzania rank number 141 position. So you can see we are lagging far behind. So it also can improve ease of doing business ranking. So ease of doing business is only rely on the sharing of information. Once the information is not shared readily, it means that there's a lot of delays, which cause a lot of demurrage and intention charges, which in return raise cost of doing business in Tanzania. And at the end, some other people may tend to use different portals, which is close to us. The other importance that we can leverage from this platform is our port and customs beyond national border. You can send the reach, because we're not only dealing with our port only with Tanzania, but we can collaborate with other ports from different parts of the world using the platform, deepening the regional cooperations. And then overall, once all this are being achieved, the overall trading and promotion facilitation will just happen in our countries. So in summary, these are just a benefit for the port and terminal operators. So there is no, for instance, in the first is the cost of development and support of point-to-point EDI integration with shipping lines and the port community. There will be no cost for that, because the use of trade lanes doesn't have need services day to day, unlike the use of EDI. EDI is electronic data interchange, but with trade lanes under the blockchain, it's quite a different case. So the second one is inaccurate ETA and TTDs of vessels in the model led to poor planning and use of ports and terminals. So there's been a lot of inaccurate, especially time of arrival and time of departures. But by using this platform, it's easier to predict the near real time for this arrival and departure of the vessels. And also fluctuating equipment flows make it difficult for yard density management. With this, once the port got the information readily or at the earliest, that means it's going to be easier for them to plan the cargo on the bay accordingly, compared to right now, when the information is just reached short time before the vessels dock at the port. So there are a lot of numbers. I cannot point one on one, but whoever needs this presentation, I can just share it. You can just share me the email and I'll share it to you. So to authorities, unnecessary delays and intervention or false positive due to late missing information. there'll be less misappropriation or misinformation from document lodged, cost paper intensive work that will be removed because it can go to paperless operations. Fraud and forgery are major issues. So with this fraud and forgery, they cannot take part because, as we have already know, we all know that once the document is posted in a blockchain, it cannot be changed or deleted. Once you try to amend it, it can only create a duplicate and not remove the original. So everyone can just know what was the original document that was shared before the new one comes. So in general, the trade lane so far is covered across 6 continents, 72 ports and terminals directly integrated with trade lanes. Since it started, they have been trying to go to every country and port just for it to be adapted. So currently, as you have seen, the red or orange dotted, these are the ports that are already directly using trade lanes. And the one with green, these are just terminals which are contributing data. For instance, in Tanzania, we are currently contributing data because we're not officially using this. These are among the carriers that have already accepted the platform and onboarded, and they are going to just adapt it and use as their own internal system. So all of them are going to just remove their current or their system that are being used, and they're going to start using trade lanes as their internal systems. So this is about the technologies of the platform. So I'm not going to repeat because the partner of Irene has well clearly explained about the blockchain. So whatever I'm going to say here is going to be a repetition of what has been said already. But there are a few things that maybe I can just say, because one of the things that are very important is tamper-proof recording and non-repudiation of all data submitted to the solutions. As I've already said about this, verifiability, you can just go back and verify the capabilities. Even once the platform or the system is maybe somehow shut down, you can always go back and recover all the documents as it was from the very previous. These are all most technical terms, and I believe all of them has been well stipulated. So I'll just end up here, and thank you very much.
For the presentation. So that's a deep dive into all of the use cases. And now we will invite everyone back for just a quick discussion. It's not going to be too long because the interesting part for me is the activity afterwards. So if all the presenters can join us on the stage, and we'll dive right into it. Meanwhile, guys, you can start preparing your questions, and let me share the link for those online to ask as well. Can you shift to my... So again, I like using Mentimeter because it makes everyone's life easy. For those who don't want to speak out a question, you can just send it using the link and number, and we'll just see it on the big screen. You don't have to say who you are if you don't want to. So we have another mic here just in case. So I have, my first question is very simply, there's always something that must fall for everyone to start adopting something, that critical turning point. What do you believe the critical turning point is for us to start adopting blockchain at scale? Anyone can go.
I think from where I'm sitting, it's policy and regulation. I mean, governments understanding and putting the right regulation framework and the right structures for support. Because when people talk about blockchain, the first thing that comes to mind is cryptocurrency, and there's been a lot of scamming around cryptocurrencies. And unless we're able to put clarity around that, I mean, we've seen today all the different opportunities and solutions that are being adopted by blockchain in other industries, right? So it requires cleaning that, putting the right framework, a lot of capacity building and knowledge sharing, especially of best practices. I believe this technology is here to stay. It's only a matter of time. So the sooner we get on the bandwagon, the better.
Thank you.
I think, you know, for this blockchain, I'll speak for, I flew, so I'll try to put the mic up as far as possible. For this blockchain to work perfectly, we need crises like the COVID for people to react. Because without COVID, to be honest, we were adopting technology very slowly, especially in Tanzania. Every time you go out to the government with new technological ideas, everybody shut you down. But with COVID, it came, I think, as much as it was a crisis for Tanzania, it was a huge blessing in the sense of really the government opening ears and eyes to say, wow, really, we're ready to embrace new technology. And we are actually looking at innovating in the tech space ourselves. And we have some ideas that we explored with them. We're actually shocked to see that the government was really receptive of the ideas around blockchain. And they actually wanted to know, they even requested for us to provide lessons around that. So it's really interesting. So I think crisis is a perfect way to.
Well, I think for me, there are quite a few things. One of them is a fear, since it's a new technology. But this comes with the mice, because whenever a new technology is introduced, there's a mice coming after that. Everyone can say whatever they say, and always the first news that come is always the bad news first. So first of all, that bad news or whatever bad experience need to be cleared, or where someone has to stand out and clarify the issues so that anyone can be easy. And for once that's done, then everyone can be easy to accept and try to see how we can adapt the technology. Because what is happening, once the mice come and lack expertise, for instance, few people understand what is blockchain is. So when someone spread the myth, for instance, from those capital currencies and everything, those scamming and everything, so everyone fear as it comes, even if there's a lot of good outcome, positive outcomes, people will only take one negativity and go with it and forget all the 99% good from that technology. So I believe that the first way is to clear that myth so that people can well understood what it is and how best can it serve the countries in different ways.
Jeff, what direction are you going? We've heard two calamity side of things.
On my end, I believe that everything begins from the mind.
Mm-hmm.
A choice, we make choices every day, and it's from the mind. Policies, fear, trying to feel comfortable in a specific tech space still begins in the mind. So I believe that if we move with a mind shift and we look at community-based learning, because each technology niche has a specific community, whether it's in Tanzania, whether it's in Kenya, whether it's in Malawi, the communities. And now, since we're resistant to change and we don't really understand this technology, we can use the communities which we have around the tech space to learn, which means that we have now access to knowledge resources around specific blockchain protocols that you can teach ourselves and learn. And now we create capacity to be able to create innovative solutions for the world.
Thank you. So we have a nice balance of optimistic and apocalyptic, let's say. So we'll open it up directly to the audience. We do have some questions coming already online, but you guys are here with us in the room, so I'll give you priority. Any questions from the audience? That is, yes.
Hi, everyone. I'm Daniela from FemAgri and Adanian Labs. I have a question for TBL. So Irene already mentioned that I have an agri focus, so I'm very much interested in the application of blockchain from an agri perspective. I realized that your solution starts from after harvest. Seeing as you guys are the grandfather in the building, if you will, does TBL as an organization look at how they can further extend that blockchain solution down the value chain, upstream in the value chains during the farming process, and not necessarily per se you guys do it as yourselves, because I mean it could be with a partnership with other startups, and I think that's the capacity building that Jeff was talking about. Those other startups can benefit to have a blockchain addition in their solutions, and that solution can pair very well with what you already have already built. Shameless plug, we're here. Fema. Shamelessly.
Yeah, feel free.
Yeah, very interesting question. So from the TBL perspective, or from the global AVI structure, one of the key aspects we look at in the smart agriculture is the financial empowerment, the connectivity, and the skilled. So definitely the skilled and the connectivity are not yet digitalized in the blockchain chain. So, and those who touch in those areas that you mentioned around the process, the pre-harvest process, that's where those two aspects come in. Certainly, with ideas from startups, because that's one of the things that we try to look at, to say, how do we work with startups in the country to connect and partner on different ideas. So it's worth exploring. We've never thought about it, but it will be really worth exploring, to be honest. And I think it provides an exciting space to look at. Yeah, certainly worth considering. Thanks.
Like Yumanda said, this is a week. So
Indeed.
have the conversations. Let's see how many. Yeah, so are there any more questions from the audience before I shift? So on the online side of things, don't worry, I'll pick up the questions for you. Jeff, I think this one's going to go to you. What if there's an error in the first block generated? How easy is that to fix? Especially if that error, I imagine, starts to perpetuate without anyone noticing.
So, yes. So for the Genesis block, it's mostly generated by the kernel itself. So it's not, the Genesis block doesn't have any human intervention, because the Genesis block is the one which identifies the authenticity of the whole chain. This means that each block is connected by a specific hash function. That's the only technical term I'll use. But each block is pegged to another block. But the Genesis block, since it has no human intervention, it makes sure that it makes sure that the whole chain is authentic. So the Genesis block is generated by the first deployment. Then as you continue migrating smart contracts, it continues to generate blocks pegged to the Genesis block. Yes, the Genesis block cannot have it. But the next blocks, if you migrate the smart contracts strongly, or maybe you might have made some mixed up logic on your smart contract logic, then it might generate a block wrongly. But then again, it can patch the whole chain. But if you patch the whole chain, the next new chain, the Genesis block again is generated automatically. So it still retains the authenticity of the chain.
About 20 minutes, the block code is generated. That's the part that scared me, right? So a little human interaction. My name is this, the weight is this, my phone number is this. Next day, oh my goodness, I did it wrong. That's the part. And there was that little moment, block code generated. So you're saying that's not actually the Genesis code?
No, the Genesis block is like the schema of the whole chain. So it's the way you have a database as a schema, which shows like how the whole database architecture is laid out. Then you can create like a DB, and then you can migrate tables within the database, which is backed again the logic of the schema. So when let's say they manipulate using the front end, it's connected with smart contracts, which again, when they're executed, and then goes through a layer of the cryptography and then is written on the blockchain network, it's pegged to the Genesis block. So that's not the Genesis
No,
block.
so I'm a director of operations. So I want to know, can I correct human error?
Yes.
Or whether the weak point is when it's created. So I mean, there's a weak point. The beauty of blockchain is that everybody can validate the transaction except at the beginning. And then if I have the ability to correct an error at the beginning, I have a weak point. So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Yeah, you can be able to modify, because remember, you just, for example, for the application, you're using the front end, the front user interface. So it means if, let's say you create a KYC login into the database, you're migrating a smart contract, which creates a block that is connected to the Genesis block. So the Genesis block, you won't interact with it. It's like hidden files in your computer. Like,
maybe if I understand blockchain correctly, let's say we've made a mistake and or a transaction has happened and I want to reverse that transaction. For example, I don't change the original block. The a mistake permanently available, basically, will still be there. It in itself won't change. But there will be a correction in the block. Does that help?
Sure. So it's a correction that everybody can see. So
yes. So the whole thing is, if somebody messes up, the stakeholders and everyone who is well acquainted with the chain will be able to see. And if you make another correction, let's say you edit on the user interface, and then you press submit, it migrates other smart contracts, which will now create a block back to the other block, but the true state will be the new block which has the correction. But let's say if we are talking about, let's say hacking or something that happened within the chain, that the consensus of the guys governing the network feel that it might harm the data, they can patch the whole chain because it's again replicated. A copy is stored in a node. There's a self-healing mechanism that a whole new chain takes the place of the patch chain. So it's like nothing ever happened.
Yeah, so the way I like to think of it, a normal database would white out. If there was a mistake or something, we'd white it out. No one would see what was there before, and then we'd write on top of it. In this case, is the equivalent of just crossing it through with a pen. Everyone can still see what was originally there and just writing the new one next to it. That's how it makes sense in my head. Alvin, you have my password. Just unlock it, please. Okay, that was a lot of technical stuff. Let's see if there's a non-technical. Oh, for the technical questions, Wednesday's session is there. I'm sure we can disturb Jeff on social media or probably GitHub. Would probably be easier to get you on GitHub. Okay. Okay, so this should be an easy one. Will the training held by ABC focus on only the Cardano blockchain?
So So this is, I'll walk you through the process of the training. Now, we are mostly focused on creating capacity for Africa. We don't want companies in various countries in Africa to keep on importing talent, but to utilize the people they have, because we actually have smart Africans. So the thought process is, let's say you work in ABC. We normally teach a baseline protocol, which is Ethereum. And then we teach 3 more protocols, which is Cardano. The reason is because it has a different programming style. It's more or less functional programming. Even how the compilers compile the smart contracts is purely different. But we think that using that protocol, you can create really smart solutions in regards to even identity management and how you can manipulate chains. And even you can even go granular and manipulate a single block. We teach Algorand, which is more or less built on, it has a fusion with Ethereum. And we teach Solana, because you're also looking around Solana. So the idea is we teach you the concepts, and then we teach you a baseline protocol, and then you can explore other protocols. Because if you think about it, how you build solutions on blockchain technology more or less fall in line with a specific style. Now, if I teach you one style in regards to how you build a solution, then you even migrating to another protocol won't be a burden.
All right, thank you. I would like to direct this question to TBL and TradeLens, but it may end up being a technical one as well. How do we avoid a vendor lock-in? Because both of you are on a specific blockchain provider. Cardano, Adanian Labs have talked about teaching multiple protocols, but in your case, with an application you're deploying, you're specifically tied to certain technologies. How do you plan on avoiding, especially considering that the data is now stored along that entire blockchain?
I wouldn't want to answer that. But yeah, no, it's too technical. Like I said, we just piloted. To be honest, we haven't really explored that much in terms of how it actually works. We're still learning. I wouldn't have an answer for that, unfortunately. Maybe next year you can ask me all those technical
questions. We'll look
questions.
forward to it. Irene, you have something in mind? So this is a conversation with Jeff.
Yes, it can be avoided. Now, first of all, how do we understand vendor lock-in? If let's just go the baseline, and then I'll move to the technical bit. So how do we understand vendor lock-in?
that we are stuck to a particular provider and we can't move.
Yeah, it's basically you're stuck to a particular provider, you can't move. But then again, if it means that the specific consensus are the one, of course, there's a body that governs the network. Now, if the body agrees that we stick to a specific vendor for the sake of the clients of the application, then they have the best interest of the people at hand, and that's a best decision at that point. But the consensus are the ones who actually oversee whether there needs to be a vendor lock or not. If not, then you can be able again to use or have multiple vendors to provide the solutions. So just to answer you, yes, you can avoid it, because remember, it's built on trust.
All right, thank you. Now this should be a question you guys will be able to bring into. It's around what Jeff was even talking about, the mindset, the interest in the technology itself. So as you guys are piloting and talking to port authorities and such, what has been the experience when it comes to blockchain? As in, is it a positive first experience, a negative one? And for those that have been more on the apprehensive negative side, that, oh, this is voodoo magic stuff, how do you approach that mindset?
For us, I think working with these farmers, just selling the idea to them and the simplification process, it wasn't as hard as one would have imagined in the sense of manner of speaking, because the way we sell the idea is the simplification process, because they understand the challenges that they have currently in terms of between payment and taking the goods to the aggregator, and the whole process is very cumbersome, to be honest. So when we propose this idea to them, so like this simplifies this, it's an idea that most farmers are actually very open-minded. I suppose maybe it's the fact that farmers are just very they don't think, they're not think per se, but they don't have a lot of they like to try new things, and they always like to try to innovate as much as where they are in those rural communities. So no, the challenges were not there in that sense because of their level of actually accepting to try these new technologies and the simplification process. From a regulatory perspective, not so many as well. As I mentioned, the government itself is actually approached to say, can you really teach us how this technology works, how blockchain works? We're really interested to know how does it actually help, and how can we scale it to other areas? So we've seen that it's quite positive. We haven't had any negative or regulatory issues that has come with the introduction of this. Yeah,
that's amazing to hear. It might change my mindset. So I have a mindset that if we're implementing some fancy technology most people don't understand, let's not tell them about it. If they don't have to interact with it,
yeah,
then they don't need to know about it. Because if we're about to explain what a blockchain is or what AI is, it can cause more problems sometimes. But if that's the case, then that's really great to hear. No bad news is great.
I know. No, yeah, I think, yeah, to be honest, the COVID crisis has somehow changed the way the government sees technology. It's no longer seeing the technology as an enemy. Not that I work for the government or anything, but we're seeing more and more of that when we deal in these government spaces. It's a really change of mindset that we're seeing. And I think as us as providers of these technologies, we should not go with the mindset of, oh, I'm going to shove it down your throats. We should go with the mindset of, can I teach you? You understand, and then you can provide me with the support that I need.
Agreed.
So going with that teaching mentality really changes your dialogue. So I think it's that perspective changes the entire sector.
That's great.
Yeah, that's the advice I'd give out.
And how has it been on the Port Authority side?
Well, it's for me, it's not the Port Authorities only. It goes way beyond that because it's Port, it's TRA, it's TASAC, the BOT as well. So we've gone into all those places, and in most cases, when we present our case, they understand well, and they're much more eager for that to be implemented. But the thing is, it goes beyond their capacity to decide, because it involves the country directions. For instance, when you go to port, they have developed their internal systems just to fix the problems, and they invested heavily. So now you're telling them we have a solution for you, which you can really adapt and start moving. So it's like, okay, maybe hold on, we have our own internal issues. We try to see if they work. If it don't work according to our expectations, then maybe we can consider yours. But it's a kind of tricky. So we still, I believe for us, we still have a long way to go. But if the high authority may intervene and see this through, because from what it is, this is like something which is inevitable, because it's like you're trying to avoid using SWIFT. No matter how good system you build, but once you want to go globally, there's no way you can avoid SWIFT code. It's there to stay, unless it's always something else come which is better than that. For the meantime, TradeWinds is better than any available system at the moment. So I believe it's just a matter of time. Once they realize it, then I think we can move. We're still trying to push and telling them how good it is and how maybe, because it's not only Tanzania, it's globally. So if once you see there's a lot of ports globally, but only around 20% that have already agreed, and the rest is still at the lobbying stages and trying to see and how well best they can incorporate the system into their own internal system and how they can leverage it from that. So I believe it's just a matter of time, maybe a few months to come, maybe they can see the real value of it and they can adapt the system. That's what you're hoping.
As usual, if I've invested a lot of money into it, I'm not about to scratch everything and bring it on board. Okay, thank you so much for that. There are a lot of technical questions here. We will save all the technical questions of interoperability and data storage and whatnot for the Wednesday session. So Wednesday morning at Sahara Space is going to be a more technical masterclass. So if you have a technical lead in your company or something, bring them to that one. Okay? Yes.
So on Wednesday, Jeff will be at Sahara Space. We have our CTO, Mr. Bendon Murgo. Bendon, can you please stand up? Who will also be leading one of the most amazing technical software engineers I have ever met. And it's not like I've met many, but he's profound. And then we have Raymond, also from Adenian Labs, our head of technology, another very amazing software engineer. We have Natasha, who is leading the AI Center of Excellence. So we're truly planning to share and learn and showcase, hire and incubate the whole shebang. So we're looking forward to the Wednesday session. Thank you so much.
Yeah, they'll be doing a lot of things there. And there's also one question about minimum qualification to get involved. Everything's on the Wednesday. Yes, Paul.
Technical question.
Thank you.
Yeah, so my question is, so it goes to Adenian Labs. So as you planning to build skills and capacity around blockchain, my question is, how are you planning to create a pipeline of demand and supply? Because if, I assume you already have a plan, because I think it's critical to plan that, because we may end up falling into the trends like the BCom trend, the telecom trend, where again, then people just follow the trend without a clear plan. So I just wanted to learn about your plan for demand and supply for the skills that you're creating.
Thank you. And we actually are very firm believers of not training for the sake of training. What is the value that, or the outcome that we want to get out of the trained people, the trained pool? We're building 300 plus companies as Adenian Labs. So we will pretty much absorb a huge part of the people that we train. Just on day one, or is it day zero for us? One of our partners, Emugo Africa, Next Chimia Consulting, these are global blockchain companies that spend a lot of money building blockchain solutions in Asia. And now with this partnership and with these training programs, they will be outsourcing solutions and programming in Africa. And we also want, that's why we say we want to also train business leaders so that we create that demand. As we're training the programmers, we're also instigating demand through industries, talking to banks. We're so happy to see Tanzania breweries leading such innovations, because that's the demand that will be needed. How do we get that solution built locally and not being outsourced? So we're doing all of these things, and we're building a portal for specialized tech skills, and this portal will be global, so you could be in Tanga, Iringa, and working for a big company wherever in the world, in Australia. So that is the vision that we have. And we want this to happen now. In Kenya, last year, was it this year, when we finished the AI data scientist training, it was 35 trainees. We took, I think, 1/3 of them in-house, and the remaining bit were hired by banks, telecom. Before we knew it, everybody was already taken. So there is a huge gap for specialized smart tech skills, and we are here to solve all of that.
And I'm going to very nicely plug in that Sahara Sparks will continue to have events like this so we can see these MOUs happening immediately. We have talent creation here, we have application there, we have another application there. All these people are going to need people. So it's happening. All right, so can you just scroll down quickly? I just want to see if there's any last thing. Okay, a thank you from one of the viewers. A nice way to wrap this up before we go to what's most interesting to me. So thank you guys for the education. We have really expanded the mentality of many like mine about blockchain and crypto. Thank you again, and God bless all of you. So thank you, everyone. Please feel free to go back to your tables because you guys will also be participating in this session. You'll see the big canvas on the table. I need all of you. Yes. Sure. Sure. So squished together, observing COVID protocols, but like close enough to look at the same canvas. If you're spread a bit too much, then you can just flip your chair so that you're at least in a group of 3, if that's all right. Can we not have the Danian Labs team all together? Can I shift slides from here? Okay, so this entire next exercise is going to be focused on this. Creating a conducive environment. So let's take a minute to converge. What's a good word to use? And you guys aren't going to be hiding behind. I know you're in the AI Center of Excellence, but come on, come to the blockchain side. All right, so those online can participate as well. The Zoom team will send the link over. Basically, we can still use Mentimeter, but I know some people prefer to get more hands-on with sticky notes and stuff. So hopefully you have sticky notes and pens around you. And basically, we are looking at, okay, let's get a bit more practical. We've discussed a lot of use cases, mindsets, what could be done to change and get more people involved. But now, what do you feel are things that could actually happen from any side? A capacity building, a policy and regulation, a what's another important thing in the line? A technical side, maybe infrastructure, that kind of thing. What do you feel needs to be done so that people actually get more hands-on? Companies build blockchain solutions for business. That's what we want to think about. Yes, I'll also need the TBL team to split. This isn't going to be long. This is a 20 minutes activity at the maximum. Okay. The campus allows for a number of ideas. If you want to make a bit of a big group, feel free to go ahead. Like I said, that's not a formal part. 2 days much. Good afternoon, everyone. So we just want to wrap this up very quickly because we're already near the end. So those online in the virtual session, please share your thoughts on the Mentimeter board and the link that's been shared. We're going to wrap up very quickly. If anyone would like to share just one idea that they've come on with their group. You guys are starting? Yes. Yeah, we'll just share. I just want to hear one idea from each of the teams, okay? Just one idea.
Fantastic idea here is make a Hollywood movie around it. Hollywood.
Hollywood, not Hollywood. Okay, make a Hollywood movie around blockchain. Okay, that's going to be interesting. What's your guys? Without getting too technical.
Sorry? So for us,
Just maybe one or this one. You can just go as well on.
so for ours was use existing communities online, Telegram, WhatsApp groups, which leverage on technology to see how best we can pass down blockchain information to members of that group. Because we believe that if you join a group, it means you were invested and interested in the content of what they're sharing there. And if they're blockchain driven, then we can be able to demystify blockchain on a wide scale.
Thank you very much. And then our final group who is very much dispersing before they go. Whoop, I'm coming here because you guys are still at the table. I need you guys to give me one of the ideas you discussed. What happened to your canvas? Okay, give us one of your main ideas.
Okay, one of our idea was the availability of blockchain and how it can be accessed.
So increasing easy access to tools to build it.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yumane. Yes, we've been wrapping up here. We've been wrapping up.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, guys. Hey. Yeah, so we have to wrap this up. It has been a very long day. Ooh, yeah. Who, me? Yeah, so it has been a very long day. Thank you, everyone. Shout out to our technical team. Can we shout out to our technical team? A lot of claps, please. Yay! Great. To all the amazing photos from Rashid, which made me to look so handsome on Twitter. So a lot of shout out to Rashid. Woo. Yeah, so again, our photographer and everyone else, our guests, please, we will come to you to learn more about what you do, because part of what we do is knowledge management and capturing all this insight and interesting information. We want to showcase that there's something interesting happening in Tanzania. When I traveled with the first AI report we published in Geneva, part of Sangalian Symposium, everyone was like, AI, in where? Tanzania. So it's exciting to tell people that there's some amazing stuff happening. You know, if you tell them, yes, we are using blockchain in Tanzania, what exactly are you doing with blockchain? So it's exciting. And thank you so much for your time. And the week is very long. There's a lot of activities happening. There'll be a technical blockchain session on Wednesday for like techies. Jeff, you have to pay me, man. I'm promoting your event. Like you'll be learning it. And we have another session tomorrow on Tech for Good with UNFPA to be happening at Hayat. We have a session on digital skills and future of work. It's happening at our office. So if you're interested about future of work, you're welcome to attend. We have a clubhouse session in the evening around digital skills and future of work, and there's media and innovation session. And there's a cocktail on Friday. Adam just remembers the cocktail. There's a cocktail on Friday. Yeah. So it's not about coding only. We can also network and catch up on Friday. So thank you so much and have a great evening. Bye-bye.